Welcome. So I'm Kelly Berry. I am the VP of Operations here at Fitness Revolution. And at FR, we empower fitness business owners to build and grow profitable businesses that they are passionate about. And we do that through our combination of our coaching process, our content, and our proprietary fitness business alignment system. And through all of those, we provide the long-term solution to burnout. And I want to thank you for watching today or listening today, and welcome you to our brand new content series that we are calling What's Working Now. This is just where we're going to surface and share things that our coaching partners, we call them CPs, what they're doing, how they're getting it done, and some best practices. I'm really excited to get this going. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And I think that these conversations are going to be really informative and enlightening and create a ton of value. So I'm excited to do that. So we're going to kick it off. The first one with Pamela MacElree. So Pamela is my colleague. She is one of our success coaches here at FR, but she's also a business owner, a super smart and successful fitness business owner. So she has no idea that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to share some what I call like fun facts about Pamela. So Pamela was actually FR's very first coaching client back in 2006 is when we started working with her in that capacity. She was the 19th CrossFit affiliate, which I think some people, that'll kind of blow your mind. But when she first got into running her gym initially, she was a CrossFit affiliate. She's now, her gym is Urban Athlete in Philadelphia. And Pamela just celebrated 17 years. Yeah, 17 years. So that's really, really awesome. In addition to all of that, I mentioned she's one of our success coaches. She's one of our high performance mastermind coaches. And she's been doing that role, we'll say, for like about the past 12 years. That timeline is not as solid, but it's close. Yeah, so this may or may not be a fun fact, but we think we have enough information that is probably likely true. She's probably coached more one-on-one fitness business coaching sessions than anyone on the planet. She's been doing it so long, so that's really awesome. She's also a huge advocate for philanthropy. She heads up our Revolution for a Cause initiative here at FR that has raised over $1 million, so that's amazing. Spends a lot of her time volunteering, serving on various boards, and probably a lot more. So to say that she's got a lot to add and offer is probably a pretty big understatement. But so she's an amazing teammate and coach. I've known her personally and professionally for just about all of that time. So I can't wait to have this conversation today.
Wow.
So Pamela, yeah.
Thank you.
I want to give you the opportunity. Do you have anything to add?
I mean, you hit most of the marks. I'll add that, I have my two awesome kids because like they've affected some of the way business has gone over the last 17 years. So my husband and my kids, we live just outside the city. And that's the only thing I'll add. I think you've got the rest.
Yeah, definitely a mom. And I think we'll get into that when we talk about your topic today. And I think everybody feels like they are short on time these days, but with everything I just listed about you that you have going on, plus your mom, that's just a part of what plays into capacity and what you have the ability to get done. So we'll get into that. But today I'm talking to Pamela about networking. And I think Pamela has a pretty interesting view, I guess, or angle on this right now and how she's doing this. I think networking is one of those things. I'm a coach. Pamela's a coach. We talk to a lot of our coaching partners about doing this. It doesn't always get received really well. It's something I think people are hesitant about. They have maybe some misaligned expectations about what networking actually is. I think everybody thinks I've got to get business cards, I've got to go to a chamber meeting, but networking can look a lot of different ways. So excited to hear what you have to say about it. So yeah, I guess just tell me, what have you been doing with networking for your business right now?
Well, if it's okay, I'd like to kind of go back maybe like 10 years because I think it sets the foundation as to why it's how you said, like some people think it's this way and that it can be a variety of different things. And I think the way that I've done it over the years then was a way and definitely a different way today. So initially my networking was just like going out and making connections with business owners. And my intention was, what can I do for them? What can they do for us? And like, how can we showcase or get in front of more people? At the time, initially, like that included the business association and going to like weekly and monthly meetings and going to evening events and a whole bunch of other things, hosting events, circling through a variety of hosting with a restaurant or a clothing store, just people whom I've met throughout the years that were aligned in some way with some of the things that I was either personally or professionally. I will be completely transparent and say that I said earlier, I have 2 kids. So about 7 years ago, I stopped doing all the networking. I didn't have time to do it. I particularly, once our second child was born, I didn't want to be doing it in the evenings. Like it's different. But I also realized probably, about the beginning of this year, maybe towards the end of last year, that one of the things that we did really well to help with leads and just some brand recognition was networking. And I wasn't doing that. And since it worked so well, it didn't make sense to not try to figure out a way to bring it back. So about 2 months ago, maybe, so it hasn't been very long since I've gotten back into it. But I mean, basically, I just went with the mindset that I'm going to start to have conversations again. I promised myself I wasn't going to talk about COVID, but there's a little bit of that in there too. Like everybody stopped doing things and stopped talking to people and stopped figuring out like how to make things happen. And, I'm completely part of that picture. So I literally walk out the door of the gym at least once a week and whichever direction I decide to go. And I make sure that I stop in and talk to 2 business owners. I've reached out to people that I used to do something with, if it makes sense. I'm receiving invitations to do things that I'm no longer just flat out turning down. If it makes sense, like I should be doing them, finding a way to make it work. And really that's it. So I look at networking as just talking, and in a different way, which I think is unique too. I'm looking at networking as just an extension of our branding.
Yeah, tell me more about that. The extension of your branding part.
Yep. I know it sounds a little weird, like how does that work? But in my mind, it's, if people don't know about you or they forget about you, the only way to help them with that is to share the story. So I look at it as, if that conversation goes in a direction where we can co-host an event together, then our face or our logo, not, our logo's face, whatever you want to, however you want to reference it, is going to be presented with another business. So then their circle sees it. We used to do a lot with restaurants and salons and not so much now, but we do have a protein smoothie, post-workout protein smoothie at our local juice room. And it's called the Urban Athlete. And that was their decision. And so every time someone goes in there, the name is right there. Whether people order it a whole bunch, I'm not sure. But, why is it called that? Where is that place? And so I find that when the other business or someone else is able to talk about us in a way that I want the community to hear about us, that's the brand being delivered, but not necessarily by myself or staff.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I really like about what you said, and I know you will know where I'm going with this. But one of the questions we ask internally a lot and to our CPs a lot is like, how can I? And so instead of having the mindset or the attitude like, I have 2 kids, I have a gym to run, I'm a coach, I do a bazillion other things, I can't network anymore. It's like, how can I? Maybe it doesn't look the same that it used to look for you specifically, but how can you still do it? Because it was something that worked so well and something that will provide maybe not like very like specific quantifiable results, maybe it will, but that it's like helping you build those relationships. So I like the way that you were like, maybe I am not able to do some of the things the way that I used to be able to in the past, but how can I do this because I know it's really important. So I really like that, how you're just like finding a way. The other thing that I like is, and it's a little bit different from how we've kind of like coached people to approach it in the past, but, just going out to have a conversation, not really having an agenda, not really having an ask, but just hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I just want you to know about us. And I think conversations like that are really powerful because they let you explore, whereas if you go in with an agenda, sometimes it's more of a, well, we're not into that, or we can't do that. And then it kind of shuts down the conversation. So I really like that too.
Yeah. It's funny that I'm choosing this as an option for the business because it's not actually my strength at all. I think the people that know me know this, but I am not an extrovert, and like going out and speaking to people is not in my comfort zone. But in the community that the gym is in, which is in Northeast Philadelphia, like it's a very tight community of people, and the residents and like our clients, they thrive on small business. Like that's just part of like something that motivates most of them. And so it doesn't make sense for me to abandon that when we used to do it so much. And so, a new shop opened a couple months ago, and a client told me about it. She's like, it's super great for little gifts, whatever. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go. And that's how I started it. Like, again, the second time around, I went in, hi, I'm right behind you. We had this little talk, found out about Lori. She's really great. And we just ended up talking for like 30 minutes. I don't even think maybe 20 of those minutes was, 20 of those minutes were not even about either of our businesses. But that's the point, is getting to know people so that there's an interest in like, well, let's help each other. There's already that common ground of like, she's a woman-owned business, I'm a woman-owned business. We're in the same community. We're literally like 40 feet away from each other. That's, a plus, but it's just like strategic partnerships and cross promotions and like just real genuine referrals don't happen unless there's a connection or like someone knows something about you. And I think it's just really, really important.
Yeah. So, you mentioned you're not necessarily an extrovert. So what do you do, I guess, to like get in the conversation having mode, or like motivate yourself to go have these conversations when, it's not naturally probably something that you like are dying to do? What do you do to like overcome the, I want to, or I don't know what to say, or I'm afraid, or whatever other like self-talk you have?
Yeah. So I think it's different every time. If I'm going in to talk to somebody who I know and it's just been maybe 4 or 5 years since I talked to them, like that's something different. It's like the whole intent is to go in and just be like, hey, like I'm still here too. It's really awesome. I want to see how you're doing and what your business is doing. And then for me, it's like, you care about people because you run a service business that tries to improve people's lives. So it makes sense, Pamela, go do it and like spread it someplace else. With the other example I gave, the newer business owner, I mean, it was like, what's she going to say? Like, get out of my store? No,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, there's always got to be something, some sort of commonality. And so I think ultimately what I'm saying to myself is like, there's no bad that's going to come out of this.
Right.
I might not do anything for my business out of this, but I'm also not necessarily looking for a new best friend. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm just trying to be personable, and I have to remind myself of that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to be personable because you run a service-based business and like people need to know about you, or despite being in business for 17 years, you need something to stay in business.
Yeah. Yep. So the way that I would kind of describe that is on like an individual conversation level, the stakes are pretty low. You're just trying to go have a conversation. You're not necessarily, if you don't have a goal or a next step, then it's really kind of like a no-fail situation. But the upside or the opportunity from having these conversations is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. Awesome. So can we also rewind just a little bit and talk about when you were doing it 10 years ago, like what was different in your approach then? Yeah, we'll stop there. What was different in your approach then?
I think a lot of like introductions had been made for me initially. So usually a client would be like, oh, hey, you have to get to know this person. And then they would say, so I'm hosting this dinner. You should come. I'll introduce you. And it kind of felt a little bit like blind dating. And then eventually, because someone else was pushing for a partnership, like it did in essence make it a little bit easier. It's just that all those things at the time were like, let's do cooking classes, but they need to be on the nights at night and on the weekends. Let's do a shopping event, which again, for most people to go, needs to be nighttime or weekend. And there was very little that I was doing that was during the day. And, it was just easier because, okay, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do that. There was no schedule I had to like be responsible for anybody else, of. And it was, I guess it was just that a greater portion of it was initiated by someone else. So it was easy to kind of just tag along.
Yeah.
Now it's not so much that. It's me recognizing like when we were doing certain things, I had this amount of leads, or I was asked to do, like the business was asked to do more things in events that happened within the community. And it didn't make sense to your one question a couple minutes ago, is like not trying to figure out how to make it work with a new landscape.
Yep. I really do think it's all about, we are big proponents of like tapping into your network and having a network and knowing who those people are. So I think, ultimately it's just expanding your network, getting to know people on a personal level, and then kind of like creating a situation where when opportunities come up that people think of you, that they reach out to you. So it's just kind of like a more like organic, genuine network building, I guess I would call like strategy.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's for me right now, it's actually less about coming out with an outcome. So that everything that happens after that conversation is organic. Kind of with the mindset or the belief that if it's less forced, it'll work out better if it's supposed to. I know that starts to like tread very lightly on like hope is,
right.
Let's go with hope. I'm not hoping anything.
Right.
I just think that there's like a genuineness and a more organic kind of like I legitimately want our business to be a part of the community, because our business is so community centric.
Yep. Yep. So do you have any, since it's more organic and there's not really any next steps, do you have kind of your own plan to like visit these people on kind of a recurring basis, check in with them? Yeah. What does that look like for you right now?
So, I mean, some of the conversations that I've had already have led to, like, let's consider this, and totally initiated by the other business owner. And so those are not things that we're going to be doing in the summertime, July and August. It doesn't make sense for us to try to do that, but we have them on the schedule at a time that works for them. And so for those types of scenarios, like it's on the Google Calendar, like remember to follow up with so-and-so. I'm also kind of like, not with real good strategy, but with our social media, I'm connecting with those people after our conversation. And then when they are sharing or like posting something or sharing something that I think our internal community can resonate with, I'm just organically sharing it. Like, I didn't go in and say, hey, I'll share with you on social media. Almost kind of like I took on this mindset where on most Wednesdays, I'm going to find a way to promote another small business. No one asked me to do it. I don't know what's going to come of it, but it's kind of like that first conversation. Nothing bad can happen from it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome too, especially like non-solicited. It really feels like it's organic, and it's genuine, which I think those two things have come up a few times in this conversation. But yeah, and I mean, as a small business, it's so nice when people do that for you, even when it's clients. Every share or every mention that gets you in front of a few more eyes, it's just like so appreciative. So I can imagine that those small businesses have been really appreciative of that too. So yeah,
I mean, I agree. When we get tagged in things that I didn't ask someone to do it, I'm like, like,
yeah.
And it's funny because you would think that after being in the same business for 17 years that like those things wouldn't really be all that exciting. But I think it's actually validation or proof that like what we're doing is working and like it's being impactful and it's doing what it's like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So in order to be able to keep doing that, I need people to be doing what they're doing on their own.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think this has been great. I think it's a great topic, a great approach. I think for a lot of people who have been hesitant to network or say that they're going to do it, but continually like kind of find that excuse of why it's not the right time or they don't have time, that this approach can be just like really valuable. And this, like the way that you're thinking about it and doing it, I think is really neat too. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think like, for anybody that is in that boat, it's to really just go back to like, it's just talking and like, don't like, I haven't committed to a weekly networking group meeting where every Thursday at 9:00 I have to show up. And on the fourth Thursday, I have to bring breakfast, right? Like,
right.
I can't do that right now. But like, if it's just like, just go talk to one person and then go just talk to the next person, even if it's just one person a week, like, I think like that's so much more doable and manageable. And, start with people that even if you've already had a conversation, just be more intentional about it. Yep. And then it'll open the doors to knocking on the doors of the people that you have never met before.
Yep. Gives you a little bit of confidence that, you know what you're doing the right thing, that, that it's going to have an impact. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being willing to share and excited again about this What's Working Now content. So Thanks, Pamela, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.